Hello, I'm one of the book bros. My name is Stefan. I'm going to be, in this mini-series, I'm going to be talking about translated novels. Mostly the Chinese, Korean, and Japanese translated novels that come over here and get translated into English. The way that I'm going to be doing this is a little different. I'm going to be reading the minimum 100 chapters of each of the novels I'll be talking about. So if you want to have a novel, there's a novel and it's under 100 chapters, I won't be reading it, and I'll review it when it comes to 100 chapters. The whole reason I'm doing that is because for the future, it's like it gives you a chance to go over sometimes a small hump that the author has when first starting to write one of these novels. And sometimes it's dry, like certain things get exciting later on, where if you only give it like a 10, 20 chapter review, or just a chance, it doesn't really happen until sometimes later. Sometimes I've read a couple novels that don't really get started until the 50th chapter, and then they're really good after that. So I'm going to be doing a 100 chapter review most of the time of the book, and you'll get an idea where this book will be going. For today, we're going to be talking about The Reincarnation of the Strongest Sword God, written by Lucky Old Cat. This is a fantastic novel. It's a reincarnation novel where our main character, Shifang, goes back 10 years right before the game Gods of Man is released, where he spent the last 10 years of his life going through guild masters and going through raids and strength to strengthen himself and to play through this game. It's a fantastic novel, and the story going through is absolutely amazing. For my thoughts on the novel, it's a fantastic novel. It's a reincarnation novel. Our main character, Shifang, just with him coming back 10 years in the game knowledge and knowing how the game it is and how he progresses and what he needs to do to get into situations, right away in the first 100 chapters, just grabs your attention. Just with him being able to have that 10 years of gaming knowledge, going into the game and putting out like step by step how he's going to make a guild, how he's going to get the strongest, how certain things react to certain other things is absolutely amazing, especially when he knows how to tread and where he can go, like push and like back off slowly. It's absolutely amazing to see. It's also very interesting because most of the time in these situations, if he was real life and he came back 10 years later and you know all these things, people are obviously going to look at you. He finds essentially a mask almost immediately, spoiler warning. He finds a mask almost immediately that allows him to have a couple different in-game characters. It's very, very strong. And it's one of the only things that I'm like, that's weird, but like I understand why. And he plays off of it because he plays a different character, him as Shifang, also as his main character that he uses as the guild master of the guild that he creates in the first 100 chapters. It allows him to do way more things without getting absolutely demolished, because in this world, with VR MMO being so far along, that not only is in-game things relevant, but if you do something in-game, that depending on how powerful or how strong, how rich the person outside of the game is, they can come after you. And not only that, this is also a cultivation novel, that in the future, when this thing is, they find a certain way to upgrade the human body itself and to go make proportions like a cultivation novel. Not to the extreme a cultivation novel goes to. It does seem that there is like a cap, but it's definitely just superhuman levels, which isn't bad. It makes an interesting thing along the lines of when you get the subplots from when it's outside of the game, when he's in his real life, when he's in his real body and he's walking around. It makes a good contrast between fantasy in-game stuff to outside. It's like you can relate to him at the very beginning, then it just you start relating. It's like, oh, what if I had these powers, what if I could do this, what if I could do that. It's absolutely fantastic just to go through the whole thing. And like, I'm 2,200 chapters in, it's still going. It's absolutely amazing. I'm just glad the author's back, because he was on hiatus for a month or two during COVID. So I'm fantastic. I'm over the moon that he's back and writing again, and everything's good. For rating this novel, plot, definitely about 4 out of 5 during the first 100 chapters. It doesn't feel rushed, but like him knowing absolutely everything, or very close to what absolutely everything that's happening, and exactly what he has to do to get into some situations. He's like, of course there are things with the butterfly effect, because now he knows all these things and he's doing it himself, that do affect him and changes things, and that definitely goes on later on in the web novel. Definitely the first 100 of him knowing and how to do certain things and to find certain things and how to get to point A to point B in the first 100 chapters can be a turn off to some people, because he's not OP in the sense that like his character is very strong, but he's OP in the sense that he knows what to do, and especially in later and past the 100 chapters, he does get OP because he knows all these things to find exactly what he needs to do to upgrade weapons, upgrade his character, to get extra stats and such along those lines. So definitely a 4 out of 5, just because some people can get turned off by that. Not necessarily me, but like it is kind of not bothering, but like it kind of, you know, you don't necessarily want that always. For a subplot when it's outside, I absolutely love that. It's definitely 5 stars out of 5, like 5 out of 5 stars, just because it's a very nice contrast, and you get to know why maybe certain things are happening in the way that he interacts with like real life people, not just NPCs, not just in-game characters, and like starting from weak to strong with his main body and not only his in-game character. The way that he starts building himself up and getting from point A to point B in his real life is absolutely amazing to read. It's a great break from what's happening inside the game story. Absolutely love the subplot. Definitely 5 out of 5. Character and character development, I would say about 4 out of 5 stars. At the beginning, he's not so much cocky or anything like that. He's more confused a lot of the time, but he knows what he has to do. And his character development over the chapters, in the first 100 chapters, it isn't that big because these chapters are very short. They're not a lot of words. It would be considered a short chapter wording, maybe around 2,000 to 5,000 words or characters per chapter. So it's not that long. It's quite short, these chapters. So when it's that short, character development in the 100 chapters, there's not a lot, but definitely over the time, there is a lot of character development. That's why it's 4 out of 5 stars, because he doesn't grow much in the first 100 chapters, but he definitely starts growing in the later chapters. So if you're going to read this, definitely look forward to that. And not only that, his best friend Blackie that's in this story along with him also starts to grow, because you just see him develop, because he's always there with the main character. You don't know how he was in the past 10 years that he was alive before he got reincarnated back into his old self. But, you know, you can imagine certain things, and just watching them, all the characters grow in general, even over a little bit over the first 100 chapters, is pretty amazing, and they grow even more past that, because I've read way past that. So definitely 4 out of 5 stars. For the writing and translation, I was reading this before it got picked up by web novel, when it was definitely just a fan translation that was going on. At the time, it wasn't that bad, but definitely with web novel picking it up and them having their own translators and writers and editors going on, it's definitely 5 out of 5 stars. I don't see any very much grammatical error or editing errors or translation errors when it comes to these novels when they're released. It's really fun to read, very easy to read, like most of the other ones that I've reviewed so far or going to review. It's absolutely fantastic, and I absolutely love it. For foreshadowing and plot holes, most of the time, like most VR MMOs, novels, most of the time if they're reincarnated or like the isekai type thing happens, you can definitely assume that there's going to be more foreshadowing in the beginning, because the character knows what's happening and knows updates is going to be happening, and certain things that are going to be happening inside the game story itself. So more foreshadowing happens than probably a lot of other novels. Definitely, but they get fulfilled in a timely manner most of the time, right? Most of the time with like the small arcs that are happening, fills out fantastic when it comes to the foreshadowing. You can have an idea what they're going to do, or even if it's a foreshadowing and they fulfill the foreshadowing when they talk about what's happening at that time, it's amazing to see sometimes how he fixes it. You know, what's happening in that situation. He's like, oh, this is the foreshadow, but then the way that he gets there from point A to point B is absolutely amazing. And sometimes there's even a twist. I'm like, oh crap, didn't think of that. That's a good idea, and stuff like that. So for the foreshadowing and stuff like that, I definitely would give it a 4 out of 5, as I definitely didn't forget to say that in this video. The overall rating I would give this novel is definitely a 5 out of 5. I absolutely love this with the grammatical and the plots, especially with being 2,200 chapters in. It's absolutely amazing. Even the first 100 chapters gets you in there right away, and just like makes you want to keep reading and reading and reading. And with how short these chapters are, just reading a chapter a day doesn't take too much time, And especially when you start, like that 100 chapters can go by, depending on how fast you would, in like 20 to 30 minutes. It's easy, just fly through it. And so that's probably the only gripe I have about this novel is the chapters are so short. But there's pros and cons for short chapters. You can read them quickly. It doesn't take as much time. But again, the chapters are short. You want more. This is an amazing book, and I can't wait for more to even come out. Thanks for watching. If you like this type of content, make sure you like and subscribe. We have more content over later on the over on the other parts of the channel. You got my buddy over there, Alexz, that does fan fictions. So if you like fan fictions or you like anything along those lines, sure to head over to him and see what he has to say about some of the fan fictions that he's talking about. And once a month we have a novel review. It's like, you know, if you want both of us talking at the same time, boom, there you go. So if you like, please think about subscribing, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.